Hi, welcome to Tiny Garage Fabrication. Today I'm taking all this stuff in my shop and utilizing it for one project. I'm taking stainless steel, CNC plasma cutting, powder coating, 3D printing, TIG brazing, and car parts, and I'm going to build one cool ass mailbox. I started with some stainless steel that I took off the bottom of my stainless workbench that I'm cutting against there. I'm just taking these little sides off so that my torch head won't run into it. Here I'm adjusting the torch head manually. This doesn't have auto torch height control. This is a Langmuir Systems Crossfire CNC plasma cutter. The plasma machine itself is an Everlast Power Plasma 60S. I really like this setup. In fact, this is my very first time even using this together, using it at all actually, and I'm totally satisfied with how it cut. Now it leaves a little bit of dross. I need to adjust my amperage and feed speeds a little better, but kind of see there, thing popped out. Very minimal cleanup required. Cutting a few more pieces here. Now I went ahead and sped the video up 2 times, so as you can see it cuts kind of slow but not too slow. It's definitely faster than the water jet, which is what I used to use at my last job. I got this at home now, totally pleased with it. The cut quality and speed is everything I need it to be for my little shop. Next up is one of my least favorite parts, which is the fixturing and the fit up, getting everything tack welded. I'm using everything I have available to me. A nice weld table, some nice 90-degree clamps and some angles and vice grips. I got bolts to use as stoppers and snubbers, just everything working together to try to get this thing somewhat square, get it tacked together so I can have a good product in the end. Up next is all of the welding. Technically it's brazing. I'm using silicone bronze on stainless steel. This was a pretty cool process. It was my first time ever using silicone bronze. Not too bad. It gave me a few fits here and there. I just had to work through it. Luckily I own a grinder and it will definitely be put to work. Moving on to the grinding, I've got a flap wheel on this 4.5-inch grinder, smoothing everything out, just kind of making it seamless and flush with the outside. What's really cool is it'll leave a nice little thin gold bead around the exterior of all the stainless steel, and that will show through the powder coating. Grinding is one of my least favorite processes. It gets just dust and crap everywhere. It looked like I had a glitter fight in my garage when I was done with this. I wanted to add a little bit of zazz to this thing, so I'm going through with the grinder and putting some longitudinal stripes in it, a little bit wavy, just trying to give it some character. You can see it starting to pop out there. This is going to add a nice little reflection, kind of just something different than just a big flat side of a mailbox. I wanted to add my house number to one side of the mailbox. I went through several ideas of what I wanted to do, and I settled with this. I used 3/32 stainless TIG wire. I bent up the numbers so it's very minimalistic, and you just know that they're there, but it's not like, it's not in your face. I think it's kind of a understated look, which is what I was going for. You'll see it all put together here in just a second. Now I wanted to TIG weld this from the inside, just kind of melt the wire into the box itself, but it would have discolored every little dot where it goes through. It would have been blue and brown, so I used some JB weld. This stuff is good to over 500 degrees, so it will survive the powder coating oven just fine. I've used it in the past. It may not be the strongest bond ever, but I mean, these letters shouldn't get messed with. This is an axle shaft from a Toyota 4Runner and a camshaft from a small block Chevy. I'm going to join these two together. I started to put them together with regular welding rods, some ER70S. It didn't work, so I switched to silicone bronze. Worked like a champ. Next up in the process is getting everything prepared to be powder coated, so it's in my sandblaster. Now the dust is kind of thick here. Turns out the filter on my dust collector was completely clogged. So here in just a second, it should look a little better. I realized what it was, I cleaned it out. There we go. So a lot better for video, definitely a lot better as the sandblast cabinet operator to be able to actually see what the heck you're doing. Here I've got the handles and the main post in my powder coating cage. I'm getting them prepared, spraying them with denatured alcohol, wiping them off with a rag, and then hitting them with a blowtorch just to blow off any little lint and fibers that might still be left on them. Now I'm using a color called Heavy Silver. This has got a nice thick metallic flake to it. This powder is from Prismatic Powders. I really like this as a base coat. I use it on most things that will have a transparent top coat. Throw it in the oven, get it up to temp, and then clean up, change my powders, vacuum the floor, clean the gun. You know, I do this every single color change, so you'll see this a couple of times. Here I'm spraying the transparent red over the handle that will be the mailbox's flag. The powder wasn't sticking completely. It's kind of weird, so I blew it off with compressed air, wiped it with some alcohol, shot it again. That's what I love about powder coat. You can just blow it off and start over as long as you don't cure it. I went ahead and threw that in my little tiny oven that's on top of the blast cabinet. We'll get this main piece taken out of the oven, and I'm going to put a couple of brackets up there with it. These are hood hinges that I made for my 1950 Ford. They needed to be black, so, you know, two birds with one stone. Now I'm spraying the black over the silver. You may wonder why. Well, here is why. I'm wiping the black off of the cam lobes and the journal surfaces, so that it'll be like a two-tone. Normally, if you look at a camshaft, you'll notice that those are polished areas, and the rest of it's got kind of an oxide finish to it. So I kind of wanted to replicate that. So here it is. Get it all taken care of, throw it back in the oven, give it a full cure, clean up the shop, clean up the gun, change my colors if I'm doing anything else, and business as usual. Fast forward to the next day, pull this thing out. It turned out amazing. Go ahead and get the box in here. Once again, denatured alcohol, rag, use the blowtorch to get off the lint. Now I'm shooting this in what's called matte tinted clear. So it's a tinted clear coat, give it a little bit of depth, and it's also kind of a flat, so it shouldn't be too reflective. I shouldn't blind the mailman and oncoming drivers. So hopefully it turns out well. Spoiler alert, it does. Clean the gun, clean the floor, clean the shop. You know the drill. These are the hinges that I 3D printed. It uses a spring from a click pen, a BB, and some strategically placed holes to add a ball detent at 90 degrees. There are also over travels put into this thing, so it can only go 90 degrees and it clicks into place. It's a super satisfying feel. I spent a lot of time making these hinges, and I'm glad they came out as good as I designed them. And they will go on the door and the flag. So here's the installation of that. The 3D printed parts are also threaded, so the bolts just go straight into them. There's no nuts on the backside. You know, I like to make everything simple if I can. And even though this mailbox is far from simple, you know, I took the liberty when I could. The inside of this handle has little ridges in it, so I 3D printed a part that has the little ridges. There's also a hole that is tapped right through the middle of it, which holds the thing on. Once again, the 3 screws that hold the hinge, and then I put the handle in, and then I run the bolt through the center of that, and it holds it to the box securely. Up next is the camshaft gear that you see there. It's got 3 holes in it that line up with the bottom of the box and with the camshaft, and that's how all these pieces will be held together. I also made these little bushings that slide on, and it will keep it in the 2x2 post that is concreted in the ground. To add just a little more decoration, I'm pressing the lug studs back into the axle. These things did not want to go in. I should have cleared the powder coat out of the holes before I assembled them. You know, just something I didn't really think of. I figured I could be able to press them in just fine, but turned out to not exactly be the case, and you'll see in just a moment here. I'm cranking on this thing pretty hard. There we go. I thought the lug slid into place. I was like, oh wow, that was kind of nice. And then I saw what actually happened, and it wasn't the lug sliding in place. Oh no, much worse. I actually broke the vise into pieces. What gives, man? That sucks. Well, the old 2-finger salute, and it's back to work. There, I got my hands on my nuts. They're dirty. Put them in this thing. Vibrate them around in some walnuts for a couple hours. They come back out shiny and clean. Should add some nice bling factor. Go ahead and put them on there with the mini Ugga Dugga. Just a couple of Ugga Duggas will do. Finally, to install the base, hammer it in until it's the right height, 41 to 44 inches. Put the box on, twist it, make sure it's level, add some bolts to secure it to the bottom so it won't move anymore, and here's the final product. So that wraps it up. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed building it. If you'd like to stick around, hit that subscribe button. Maybe check out some more of my videos. I'm always building cool stuff. Usually it's old cars like this Cougar, sometimes some motorcycles, sometimes it's just stuff around the house. But I always get it done. I utilize a lot of processes, and I'll show you guys how to build some cool stuff in the future. Anyway, throw me a like, send me a comment. Thanks for watching.